See, even like that, even I'm struggling this morning. Mike was muted. Good morning, Hoosier fans, and welcome to a aggravating, frustrating edition of Hoosier Morning After. The first defeated edition of Hoosier Morning After this season. This is Hoosier Morning After Syracuse. Last night, your Indiana Hoosiers go into double overtime to lose to Syracuse, 110 to 112. See, this type of game is why I created this show. Show was meant to allow us to take a breath, to relax, to sleep on the game, hopefully try to sleep. It took me a bit to get to sleep. Was listening and participating in the chat to the Assembly Call post-game show last night while laying in bed trying to get to sleep. And sorry, Assembly Call buddies, I had to turn it off because I had to get my brain to turn off so I could go to sleep. And that was tough last night. What a interesting, frustrating game that turned out to be last night. Lots of good stuff, lots of bad stuff, lots of ups, lots of downs. Just tough, just aggravating, very emotional, lots of emotions going into it. I was up, I was down. We get into sports. I enjoy sports. I think as a complete thing, sports are an escape for us. Sports are something that become a hobby for a lot of us. I consider Indiana basketball both my passion and my hobby. One thing, as you can see, the wall behind me keeps things going and everything like that. And what it also is entertainment for us. It's a distraction. It's entertainment. And wow, that was an entertaining one last night, wasn't it? You felt about every emotion you could. You were up, you were down. I tweeted out I wasn't planning to drink last night. Well, found myself cracking a beer at the couple minutes into that first half. I needed a drink. And I was sitting down frustrated. I was standing. My wife comes home from work late. It's already into the overtimes. And I'm standing up in front of the TV watching the game. And she looks at it and goes, uh-oh. So, wow, we got our money's worth in that game, at least from an entertainment standpoint. A frustrating start to the game. Hate how flat the guys came out. Hate how lackluster they came out. Low energy, not intense. Something we've seen in these past couple years from a lot of these guys on this team. Just flat. Not the energy wasn't there. Leadership wasn't there to kind of snap the guys out of it. And in the first half, I think more frustrating than if it was just a suffocating zone by Syracuse. That's one thing. But we were doing it to ourselves. There were so many turnovers in the first half that were unforced, that were just bad mistakes, dinky little shovel passes, telegraphing the pass to the outside. Just a lot of carelessness in that first half that could have been solved. And despite that, even too, going back to look at the play-by-play, there were moments in the first half where this team did fight and get it at least a little close and have a chance. So it was around the around the 10-minute, 55-second mark where X was at the line. He brought IU within 4, and it felt doable at that point. There was a spark of hope in the middle of the first half at that point. Then IU would commit 5 turnovers in the next 4 minutes and go on a scoring drought, but allowed Syracuse to score 10 points. So we go from right there, from being down 4 and being manageable and being a 3-pointer or a basket away from being energetic and ready to go, to down 14. And just looking back at then going into half, think back to what your thoughts were at halftime. Obviously, we're feeling defeated. We're feeling like we were still relatively in this game. 16, yeah, that's tough. That's tough to get back from. I was just saying, I hope these guys come out with some energy. And I was also saying, let's see what the coaching staff can get out of these guys. Can they shake these guys? Can they wake them up? Can they get them out of this slump? And how are they going to respond coming into the second half? And they did. They responded. They came back in that second half and played a strong game. They started to lock down on defense. They were denying the three where they were letting it fly in the first half, and brought this back to a game and brought hope back to us all. Now, it was a roller coaster from there on out, but if you just look at Syracuse's stats from the first half to the second half, it tells a lot of how these guys were able to lock in and get going. Syracuse shot 50% from three in the first half, and we limited them to 25% in the second half. They still shot relatively the same volume, shooting 16 in the first half and 12 in the second half. But we were up on our men a lot more. We were locked in a lot more. And it became quite a game. Now, we struggled even in the second half and allowed Syracuse to stretch out a little bit of a lead again. But looking back at the game in the fight, to get back in it and then forced to get it even at the end of regulation. I mean, 20 seconds left in the game. We were down 6. Trace Jackson Davis makes both of his free throws. His free throw shooting, guys, fantastic, especially in crunch time. That's what was great to see as well. In crunch time, guys stepped up. In regulation, that's the framework I'm talking about. Overtime, we had a little bit of struggles in that time, but then we go to rebound it. So Trace Jackson Davis brings it within 4. We rebound it on a missed 1-and-1 from Syracuse. Parker goes down and nails a 3. Hallelujah, Parker Stewart. Parker Stewart got his mug right here. Go buy that merchandise. Support that kid. Makes a 3. Race bringing the ball down. And anyone else notice? Look back at that. Looks very similar to the Watt shot in the sense of a little bit. It was a little more top of the key than the Watt shot was, but Race dribbling down and then kind of back shovel passing it to him. So he makes that. Obviously, IU then fouls. Both free throws made by Syracuse. 4 seconds left. Lander gets fouled. 2 seconds left. We're down three at this point. Hits the first one. And then misses the second one on purpose. And misses the second one on purpose perfectly. That is not an easy thing to do. You could miss it wrong and it hits too hard and it bounces in the middle of the scrum. You could try to miss it and make it if you had accidentally made it. You could miss rim altogether and get called, but misses it perfectly to dribble right to Trace Jackson Davis, gets the rebound, gets fouled, goes to the line, and yet again, crunch time, steps up, difference maker this year from last year's Trace Jackson Davis, and nails those free throws to put us into overtime. I was on cloud 9 at that point. I don't know how you were feeling, what your thoughts were at that time, but that moment put me on cloud 9 because to get us into that situation, the fight that they had, the perfection at the line, is something that would, again, I hate to always compare to last year, but would not have happened last year. Last year's team would not have fought like this when down. I don't think last year's team would have come out of halftime quite as energized as they were. And I may be saying it a lot in this show, and I'm sure you're saying it in your head as well as you go throughout the day. This is going to be one of those games we look back and we're just kind of saying, if we did this, if we did that. And it's tough to do that. You're going to kill yourself doing that. I'm killing myself doing that because that doesn't help us at all. But it's one of those, if we played in the first half like we did, like we came out in the second half, this game wouldn't have been a thing. A lot of people saying this is not a good Syracuse team. Yeah, the Syracuse team struggles a little bit. That's not an excuse. Road environment was tough. Tough to get into it. Um, Jay and Galen Clavio, I know, are traveling right now. I sent them the link that if they're able to pop on, they may pop on and talk to us about that. But I think they're on an airplane right now. Um, the tough road environment, and to go into double overtime and be in foul trouble where you lose some of your leadership and to that foul trouble and have to go with the younger guys. They got some blood minutes in today, guys. They they got some tough, dirty struggle time minutes, and they did very well. I'm going to say they did very well with it. They made some mistakes, but they could have completely folded in those situations and being put in that environment, and they did really well with it. Um, Here's an if. If it was a home game, do you think it would be different? I think the energy of the crowd would have helped a lot. The environment, they maybe would have come out a little bit different. Um, but I mentioned him for a second there, and let's get on him a little bit more. But just Parker Stewart, just fantastic. Getting out there, nailing those threes, just hitting those shots the way he did in the game was just fantastic. He finishes the game 50% from the floor and 50% from three. It's just, I this is who we knew we could get when we got him, a senior leader, and him and X both. These were the guys that we were going to lean into on this game because we knew we needed guys that were used to this zone, that had played against this, and they came ready to deliver. And Stewart, one of only three players that end in the positive in this game. Stewart +7 is 6 for 12, all 3-pointers. 6 for 12 from three. So 50% makes 2 of the 3 free throws that he takes. Two turnovers. Just great to see. Great to see him lock in, see who he can be, hitting clutch shots at perfect times. Like I said, that 3 towards the end of regulation to help force the overtime was just fantastic. Johnson played a great game. 3 turnovers from him. Obviously, the turnovers, the big story with it, and I'll get into those in a second. But just speaking on him, only ended with 4 points, 2 free throws, and 1 field goal. Played more of the kind of instructor and pilot getting through this zone, and did a great job, I thought, at times attacking the zone as well, like we needed to. I think that's something we missed with the other guys in there. Rob did a good job as that as well. I'm not going to discount what Rob did, because Rob in the second half coming in ratcheted up that pressure, that ball pressure. And he kind of set that tone that I think got infectious with the other guys of keeping pressure on the ball, because that's what we struggled with in the first half, was just ball pressure was not there, and we allowed them to drive and get shots and everything that they wanted from that. So Rob definitely set that tone in the end. Only 1 turnover from Rob. Again, he ended up fouling out, which was tough. Getting X and Rob and losing them in regulation. I believe we lost them both in regulation right before the end of the game. And then to have to go into 2 overtimes. I feel like if we had them in there, and this is not a discredit or a slight to Christian at all, because he handled the pressure well. But I think having that extra experience in there in those overtimes could have been a difference maker. Again, we had plenty of chances otherwise and squandered them a little bit as well in the overtime. You know what? Let me just jump. Let me get it out of the way. Let's talk a little bit stats. Let me just get the turnovers out of the way. 26 turnovers. Not good. Not going to win you games. And to me, it's the turnovers and on the offensive side that did it for this game. 13 in the first half, 10 in the second, only 3 in overtime, which was good. So we slowly got better with those turnovers. So many were unforced, though. So many of them just came because of bad mistakes, wimpy passes, not being smart with the ball. And that led to 33 points. 33 of Syracuse's points were off of those turnovers. And the person on IU's team with the most turnovers was Race Thompson. And Race Thompson was, I don't know if you'd call it chaotic good, chaotic neutral. I don't know what that, when you see those graphs, I don't know what exactly how it falls on that, but such an up and down game for him because he had 7 turnovers, way more than a senior captain leader should have. He did a good job, but then he'd turn around and did a great job as well, though. There was times where I would start to type a tweet where I wanted to vent about some bad turnovers or something that happened with Race. And then I turn around and he would make good plays. When IU finally figured out the zone well, and obviously part of this was that we got their big guys into foul trouble, IU was able to attack the bottom of the zone and get the ball into the big guys underneath and get to them a lot of baskets. A lot of Trace Jackson's points came in that point. And it's just, it's tough. It's tough. Again, it's a tough thing to look back on, and it's a tough thing to think about now because you got to be better as that senior leader captain. And he was at points, but he was also not good. And moving on, hopefully he learns from this, but we didn't have many other options. Yeah, there was an option where maybe we could bring in Tamar, slide Miller Kopp down to the 4, do it that way. Now my cat wants in on the door. I don't know if you guys hear that. He's frustrated about the game too. He wants to come in and make some comments. But just maybe you could do that. Jordan came in. He struggled as well. He had a few turnovers himself. I really thought this could have been a really good game for Jordan. He's kind of on a 2-game slump a little bit himself, not doing all that great. But he just, yeah, he could have been a good difference maker if we got good Jordan that we've seen before. His length, his size is perfect for this type of zone. Flashing to that free throw line, receiving the ball, can receive the ball high, and has great IQ and has shown that he has great passing abilities to get out of that zone. So disappointed with what we got from him. Not excited to see that. But let's see, what else do I want to get on? Sorry. My mind's going a million miles a minute, as I'm sure yours is too. Trying to process this game is a tough one to look at. But the defense in the second half, at least, and overtime, did pretty well. Syracuse shot 50% from 3 in the first half. In the second half, we limit them to 25%. So a good job to kind of limit things in the second half. And it's just it's good to see that those adjustments could happen. And when you have a game like this where IU beat themselves in the first half, and Marshall, I think putting it well there in the chat. We were sloppy. We can that could be fixed. We showed some grit and fight. I was thrilled with that. Game was a coin flip at the end. Yeah, I mean thanks, Marshall. That's perfect way to put it. I mean, when you beat yourself in the first half and you don't play to your ability in the first half, you can do two things with that. You can look at that and you can learn from that and you can get better. Or you can choose to ignore it. If you try to ignore it, or if you don't address it properly, things like that become a habit. And we don't want that to become a habit for this IU team, because right now it's scarily looking like turnovers could be a bit of a haunt for this team. And if they're turnovers from trying to play too fast, if they're turnovers from the other team just playing great defense, that is one thing. If they're turnovers like they were last night, where it was mental mistakes on our part, putting yourselves in the wrong positions, making the wrong decisions yourself, those aren't good. And those are inexcusable. Tried to listen to a little bit of what Coach said in the post game, and Syracuse, what are you doing with this? You don't have a press room. We have to do it in a hallway, loud hallway. Can't even understand anything he's saying in it, but he was taking some accountability, at least what I could hear from it. So we have that going, and there were chances to win this game. In that first overtime, I don't know what that play was, but we had a chance with 10 seconds left to get the ball down there, take a shot, and try to win this game. And unfortunately, it wasn't there for us. I don't know what we tried to run there. Point guard maybe should have audibled to something else, maybe with more experience. Lander would know to do that if he stuck to the plan a little bit too much. But again, we were lucky to go into overtime. That fight of those last 26 seconds, like I said, was amazing to see. And Trace Jackson Davis, again, I spoke on him a little bit. I'm going to finish up talking on him. Again, the fire. I didn't see the fire in the first half in him, but he came with the fire at the end. And man, talking about ups and downs, when he was holding his knee and walking off the court, not putting a single bit of weight on it, that was scary, guys. I thought if he pulled something, tore something, it's going to be a tough season without him. And he shows the grit, the fire, the passion to pop up less than 5 minutes later and want to get back into it for this team. And that's part of the difference maker too, of why it was so close and why we had the chances we did going down the wire in this game. So yeah, it's a tough game. I've said it on struggles games that we've had before. Let's move on to the next one. Guys need to review the tape, look at what happened in this game, learn from it, move on, get ready for our first BigTen game of the season. IU has Nebraska on noon on Saturday. We are at home, so it's going to be nice to be back at home. We need to bring the energy. We need to see how this team responds now. What kind of fire they come back with. Chins need to be up on this team. Chins up now, guys. That's in the past. Go watch the film. Learn on what you did in the past. Don't repeat it in the future now. Just get better, grow from here. Next game up. Next opponent up. We'll just get it going, guys. So that'll do it on this edition of Hoosier Morning After, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining me live and commenting in the chat. I appreciate that. It's great to see. I'll be back again on Sunday morning for Hoosier Morning After Nebraska. Thank you to Bob Thompson for producing the music you hear on the show. Remember, guys, to like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. There you can find out information about the show, when I'm going to go live, and who I might be able to have on as a guest that day. Got some great guests coming up possibly this year. Some great things lined up as we get into the Big Ten season and get later on. Until then, guys, go out there, and as always, have a wonderful day, and go Hoosiers.